Welcome everybody in for another Nice Job live chat. We're back on another Thursday. Curtis Davey filled in for me last week, and I hope you enjoyed that episode. Real data-driven episode, real deep dive into the home service economic report. In this week, we're having a guest back on the live chat. It's actually a repeat guest in some regard. Taylor Meroni will be my guest in just a moment. She was representing one of our partners prior, but now she's talking about her own business. And most importantly, why I wanted to invite Taylor back on the show is the story about how she came to the decision to start working on her business with her husband. And really this drive and this energy is a story that I've heard, every so often start to come up over the past couple months with, people really, really evaluating their lives. But Taylor's brought such energy to it and such a clear understanding of kind of what she wanted and as she'll tell you, in a time where not everything was quite clear. So Taylor Meroni, now of Pure Power Washing, welcome back to the Nice Job live chats.
Thank you so much, Sean. I'm so glad to be here.
And Taylor, as I said, you mentioned your husband, Damien, owned Pure Power Washing. You were working, if you don't want to say for Mr. Pipeline, you were there in marketing. That's when we talked to you last. And all of a sudden I saw a post from you that said that, you had left Mr. Pipeline or you decided to move on. And now you were working with Damien on your business. And your post that was on your personal page there, you talked a lot about it had nothing to do with what you were doing and more so about, kind of what you wanted to do. So as we dive deeper into that and talk about taking the leap, first and foremost, let's talk about your business, Pure Power Washing. Give us kind of the quick elevator pitch, what you guys are about, where you're out of. So just introduce us to Pure if you could.
Yeah, absolutely. So Pure Power Washing, we're based out of South Florida in sunny West Palm Beach here. And we are a power washing company. So we handle everything from roof cleaning, driveway cleaning, paper sealing, house washes, all the fun cleaning stuff that you see online where it goes from really ugly, dirty to beautiful and clean. So that's my elevator pitch, I guess.
And how long has Pure been in business?
We've been in business for about 4 years now. I'm getting used to the we side of it, so I have to catch myself when I'm saying that.
Yeah, I got you. And so, and Damien is your husband. He was kind of running the business. So, you just joined kind of recently. So he kind of got the 3-year head start, so to speak. Give or take. But as we very well know, when you're in kind of an entrepreneurial family, with Damien kind of running the business, it's not like it was something that was completely, separate or foreign. You would see kind of, his struggles or his successes. You kind of would go about it. Now that you're in it, is there a kind of a different understanding of maybe all those moments you saw over the past couple of years?
I think the first thing I said to him the first week I started working with him was probably, I'm sorry, about 18 times. Because you said it perfect. You see it, you understand what they're going through to an extent, but when you're actually living in the deep throes of going through running a business, it's the complete opposite of what you're just seeing on the exterior. So it was a bunch of I'm sorry's, a bunch of I love yous. We're not even a year married yet. So not only have we jumped into marriage, we've jumped into business together now. And honestly, I can say it's the best decision I've made in my entire life.
So you're just trying to squish all the anniversaries as close together. You know what I mean?
Close.
So you have the wedding anniversary, the business anniversary, just get it all out in a couple.
Keep it all together.
Couple weeks there. So it's what's always interesting to me is when you talk to entrepreneurs about running a business. From the outside, you look at that and you're like, man, it must be so stressful. Every single day, and every decision that you're making personally, affects your livelihood even more so than if you're just someone that's a cog in the machine. And you kind of saw that from the outside. I mean, obviously, closer in Damien's inner circle, we saw from the outside and still kind of drove that direction. And we had talked before we started recording, and that itch is what entrepreneurs you described as. They had an itch, they kind of wanted to do something. And yours really came down to helping people, right?
Absolutely. 100%. So I have full-blown background in marketing, thought I was going to do graphic design. That's what I studied in school. Have a full-blown fine arts degree in that I barely use, but shout out to Barry University for that one. I went from there and transitioned to actually working for an acupuncturist. And I thought, yes, I can do marketing. I can help people. I can be able to impact someone's life by bringing natural medicine to them. And that's definitely where I'm going to find my love. And 3 years into that, I got the itch again. And I was like, maybe this isn't exactly what I want to do. Or, where can I even impact someone more? And that's when I ended up finding Mr. Pipeline. And my husband had already been working with them for about a year and a half doing our marketing. And hands down, if you guys are looking for a marketing company, this is like not a sales pitch. I've worked for them and I use them personally. Please give them a call. They are amazing people. They can transform your business. But I got to go into the customer relations side of marketing and really get to help small business owners find their problems and solve them, which again, I was like, great, I'm doing what I think I'm meant to do. I'm solving problems, I'm helping people. And then again, I got an itch and I was sitting thinking and COVID hit and I said, what do I want to do with my life? Where do I want to be in 5-10 years? Do I want to be working at a desk job? Do I want to be doing nonprofit work? I mean, the ideas just completely started flowing through my head. And I'm very open about, mental health, physical health. I think all those areas of life are super important. So not only were questions brought up about what I want to do, but am I capable of doing it right now if I wanted to? So that's really where my evaluation started was, all right, let me take a step back. Let me figure out what exactly I want to do and who Taylor Meroni is going to be in 5-10 years.
And is this an evaluation that's almost constantly happening throughout your life? Because I mean, you kind of alluded to it. It wasn't that you're at Mr. Pipeline and you didn't love it. Like you're still very passionate about them. Even talking acupuncturist. Even talking about there. You still talk about it with such passion. Is that something that's always been within you, Taylor, to kind of just always, kind of take evaluation and take stock? Have you always had a good connection to your own mental health?
I feel like I have. I've been through some tough times in my life and I've, continued to grow from those, but it's something that because of those tough times, I've realized I have to check myself and make sure that I'm doing what makes me happy and doing what I love to do. And I loved doing everything I was doing at those places, but there was still a piece of me that thought I could do more and thought I could give more and thought that I could be even better version of myself than I was already being at those establishments. So I guess once I really kind of started thinking about it, I just saw how much Damien was putting into our business that technically wasn't even ours at that point. It was really his. And I just knew I could help. And if that's where my helping can start there, then I know there's so much more growth that can come from it.
So when you go into business, with your partner, there has to be, or maybe there's not, a little trepidation or how was it approaching that? I mean, was this something that you kind of, you first kind of talked over and it kind of grew into it? Was it something that the more you guys talked about it, you knew it was kind of right for both of you? Because a lot of times when we talk about working with your partner, working with your spouse, there's always a trepidation there. I know you and Damon have kind of a great relationship, but could you just take us through like what those initial conversations look like until you finally were like, like this is what you're doing?
Yeah. So it's, his parents are great. They've been in business together, have worked together for a very long time. So we have a great foundation to look at. And my parents are kind of the opposite. They both worked really stable jobs their entire life. So I came from an area of stability is what you live on. That's what you make your next steps upon. You don't put your 2 weeks in until you already have another job type of stability. So for us, we really just sat down and thought about what's going to better my mental and physical health, because I wasn't in a good place a few months ago. Mm-hmm. And what two is going to benefit him in our business. And we've had probably over the last year, I would say, 50 to 60 conversations about it, whether they were a minute long to 30 minutes long. It was a long evaluation of how I could impact the business. Like there would be times we'd be driving to a dinner and I'd be like, do you really think I could help? Like, do you really think so? Is it something that I can really make a difference and, take weight off your shoulders? Because I wasn't even fully convinced at the time that I could help him. And once we really sat down and said, okay, this is what I can handle as, front office, as marketing, as talking with our marketing team to be able to handle. And this is what you can handle as, a technician in the field, as, quoting jobs in person, as teaching me about the service itself. We really saw that there were two separate roles that we could individually take grasp of and drive the business forward.
I want to dive back into that separate roles in a moment. But first, it was intriguing to something that, both your parents kind of came from the quote unquote like safe profession. When we were talking, before we started recording, we both kind of struggled a bit by calling some things safe professions versus bold choices, because ultimately that's an internal feeling, so I was interesting to think like how much that pressure really weighed on you, of the societal pressure of like, well, this is the safe thing, the marketing gig with a robust company, that's the safe choice. And now you're taking the risk. I mean, was that a big pressure to you? Was that something that you kind of plow through right away? Because I'm always interested in those that kind of, it's weird because I think the narrative is wrong, but according to that narrative, you kind of want against the grain, want away from safe and towards bold. What was that pressure like?
That was probably the most weight in making my decision, to be completely honest, because I come from a small town in Florida where everyone makes a safe decision. And I'm not saying that's wrong. Like if that's what your calling is in life, I 100% support you as, a human. It's not for everyone. Whatever you think is best for you is best for you. But I grew up with this safe mentality, and I still to this day, I laugh because my sister makes so much fun of me. I was more terrified to talk to my parents about leaving my job and telling them that I had quit my job than I was nervous about getting into business with my husband. Like I literally word vomited one day to my parents, and my dad was just like, all right, good luck. Like you'll figure it out. And I was like, I had so much anticipation, like so much concern, so much worry about this, idea that we get placed in us at such a young age that you may or may not find safety and security in your own business. And yes, it's very much true. I mean, I've been more stressed than I probably have ever been working in the first 3 months of being with Pure Power Washing, but it's a stress that's mine, and it's a stress that I can control, and it's a stress that I can change. 100% I can make an impact and change it, or Damien can, and we can do it together to make sure we're bettering ourselves.
It's interesting because sometimes you see this dynamic take place, especially almost with like traditional gender roles. It's kind of the elephant in the room. You don't want to talk about it. But you are, I don't say seeing this movement of kind of, more women taking control of what they are doing. But I saw in your post that like that was one of the focuses, one of the reasons that you wanted to share your story, not in a hey, look at me way, but almost as a, if you need that kick kind of to get over. It's an interesting dynamic because at the same time, you look at a lot of home services and there are many powerful women within there that just don't either seem to kind of get the spotlight or kind of like seem to get the look. Was there a conversation between you and Damien about coming together? Because I doubt you have that side of, or that sort of narrative within your relationship, but about as you took on roles to kind of not an equal sort of footing, but to kind of make sure that you both were kind of empowering yourselves as much as you were empowering the business, and not kind of falling into, the man kind of being out doing the service and maybe the woman kind of on the back end. Was there any conversations on the greater scale about that?
So right now, I mean, 100%, I work in the field. I was out this morning. We were doing a couple roofs, and Monday we did an entire house property. We had to like protect all these ivory vines and stuff. And it was a really intense project. But I think for me, I've learned so much more by being in the field and allowing him to show me, this is how we do it. This is our process. This is what we go through. So then I can be educated to say, okay, if I'm on a phone call with a client, this is how I can approach it. So I'm very much, I get my hands dirty. I'm funny. I was joking with him before I got on. I was like, Sean's getting me to wear makeup, and I never get to wear makeup around you because I'm always in the field working. So
I mean, that wasn't a request. We both just know how nasty that zoom lens can be.
It can be horrible.
I'm not normally this shiny. It's just all zoom.
Exactly. So, but no, I I love learning, to be completely honest. I love learning. I love finding new things to do. And we did find 50-50, to be like completely honest. We know we did clearly define roles. We have it typed up in a Google Doc. I look at it probably once or twice a week, and it's, this is what I'm responsible for. This is what you're responsible for. It's almost a 50-50 even split. And I'm still kind of pulling stuff from him that is still on his plate for now while I'm learning. So, I would say we're about 50-50, and the trust that I have in him and the trust that he has in me is, I'd have to say, our strongest quality as a couple.
And I'm sure from the business standpoint, everyone talks about if you're kind of growing and scaling, working on, not in your business, all those lines that you hear a million times. Anyone that throws coaching in their resume will just kind of throw a line out about that. But the one thing that is very true is you should be trying to get someone to fill your role and promote yourself upwards. Right. It has to be almost a little bit of an advantage to now. I mean, you kind of, separated out, yourself and Damien to now give yourselves on different sectors of the business the ability to take your family and promote upwards. Was that something that kind of went also into this decision of realizing that not only is it going to be helpful for you personal, but now kind of doubling down the efforts on the business, as long as things are done correctly, things say we all know there's some curveballs that get thrown your way. Right. But it's a huge leg up for you guys. Is that also kind of led into the decision? Is that, like now we can, as you said, I said our business, but it wasn't our. And now you can say we, you can say our, because you're right in the trenches there.
Yes. He came from a family of entrepreneurs, and he's told me, I had him rolling quarters one day. I think we just had extra change in the house. And he was like, I hate rolling quarters. And I was like, why? I was like, what is so wrong with rolling quarters? I was like, I don't get this. And his parents owned a laundromat. So quarters and rolling quarters was something he did as a kid. And I don't know why that story stuck with me, but it taught him so much as a child about responsibility and, having a job that you had to do before he could go out and play with his friends, because that was his responsibility in the house. And to me, I had that same thing, but it was chores around the house. But I envisioned my life with my children and him and teaching them responsibilities through a business and through learning what we've built and what you can do as a family. So yeah, family was very much brought up. And, like I said, we're just going full bore, newly married, talking about like how we're going to impact our children, putting a business together, like all in the first year of marriage. We're just like not putting up any stops.
I think it's a great sign of just an understanding, understanding the partnership and understanding the individuals that kind of make that up. I'm interested of where you, when you were outside the business, did you have a certain idea of where you thought the business would go? And has that changed at all now truly being in the business and working on it?
Yeah. So where I thought it was going when I was outside the business was I was worried we were getting stagnant. And that was also one of the reasons we started having these conversations. But for me, now that I'm in it, I can't see anything but potential. And I think that's, again, because I'm spending so much of my time working on the business. And it's whether it's in the morning before, I go out for, work for that day with him, or whether it's at night when I'm just working on a contract to try and figure out a service agreement. Whenever I just feel like my brain's constantly going and is constantly thinking about what I can do to better our lives, to better our children's lives in the future and better our business. So it's kind of twofold. So I thought we were stagnant, but like now that I'm in it, the potential is, unlimited.
And you mentioned, it's, there's new stresses, there's new challenges, new things like that. But as we talked a bit off camera, that you kind of feel, and I'd love for you to kind of try to verbalize for the audience in a sense, is you kind of feel while it might be on paper more stressful or anything like that you kind of feel now personally, because you are really scratching that itch, you kind of feel more comfortable in this new scenario. Am I correct?
Yeah, I would say 100%. Like I said earlier, most stressful point of my life. I mean, and it hasn't been sunshine and rainbows, like we kind of briefly talked about. It's, it's 100%. quit, like black and white. I quit my stable marketing job in the middle of a pandemic to join my husband and just like dive into entrepreneurial life. And like when you look at that in black and white, it's like, was she mental? Like what what caused her to like do that? But for me, it's just like the thought of being able to work with him on a daily basis, which is like 24 hours. I mean, we're constantly spending time together. And the fact that I'm able to continually work on it, like, yes, the stress is constantly there. Don't get me wrong, especially when you have to like evaluate bills and make sure like you're balancing everything, and budgets and all that good stuff. But the stress of knowing it's yours and you can impact what you're doing in your business. And anyone that tells you different is insane, because you are fully in the driver's seat and in control of what you can do for your life.
And I'd love to get your take on kind of making a clean cut and going into it, because I've heard of other scenarios where people say, well, I jumped down to part-time in my safe job and now I'm helping like kind of part-time in the business. I'm not sure if that's something that you either looked into or something that you tried for a bit. But I'm interested, it sounds like it was just a clean cut. So if I'm wrong, you can correct me there, but was it important for you to clean cut, or do you think there's any advantages from being like, hey, you can't tiptoe your way in? Like if you're going to dive into entrepreneurship, you're going to dive into being a business owner, you kind of have to like touch the log and go. Is there advantages or disadvantages to having it be a clean cut and kind of an abrupt shift there?
I would say for me, the advantage was just like knowing that I had that closure. Like, okay, Pipeline was an amazing point in my life. I love everyone that I worked with at that company, and I continue to love them. We still work with them. But for me, that was a job that I had to close. And then it was opening the door to, okay, how do I navigate? Because it took me probably 2 to 3 weeks to really, obviously I had 2 weeks notice. So took the last 2 weeks at Pipeline, and then navigating, okay, where do I fit? Because that was the part too, where I'm helping in all areas, but what's my real fit? What can I really do to impact it? That took a little bit of time. So I prefer the clean cut, because if you're working part-time, and now this is just my opinion, if you're working part-time and you're trying to put time into your entrepreneurial, small business, you're looking at, realistically, you're still working probably an 8-hour day, maybe 3 days a week. So 3-4 days a week, depending on your job. That leaves you 3 to 4 days on the other end to focus on your business and no time for yourself, which I feel is very important. I know it sounds crazy, but we schedule date nights because you're working on your business constantly and you're working together constantly, but you'll forget to date each other. So date nights are important, and self-care is important, and getting time to work out and just, be by yourself and be in your own thoughts. And I really found a deep love for journaling in all of this. And if that's something that, someone can take from this, I think that's really impactful. I kind of stuck my nose up to it for years, to be completely honest. But when you take all these thoughts that you have in your head and really implement it and put it on paper, it allows you to go back through and say, okay, this is kind of a direction I'm wanting to go in. How do I get there? How do I take this life that I'm putting into words on paper and really make it a reality?
Wow, that's fantastic. I am not a journaler, like almost in the traditional sense, but I do try to kind of evaluate kind of my day to day. I'm a sports guy, kind of put in those wins and losses sort of deal. But right. You're right. It's kind of you see what you are projecting out and kind of what's internal, and you're able to kind of see the difference between there. But then also kind of gives you kind of start to hear that inner voice, just a bit more. And with all this going on, you make the shift, you're diving into business, things like that. I'm not sure exactly where the timeline comes down, but you're also part of Fight Club for Business. So you did not shut it all down. You're out there helping other small business owners, other entrepreneurs. Just tell us a little bit about Fight Club for Business. For those that didn't see, I had the pleasure of being on, just a little while ago, a guest on the show. But tell a little about Fight Club for Business, because it's just amazing. I had not known that you had left Mr. Pipeline and done this, and it was also adding this onto the equation. So give us a little, the high level of Fight Club for Business, what it's all about.
I love it. Okay. Fight Club for Business is a group of 4 industry experts. So myself, Michelle Myers, Megan Likes, and Martha Woodward. And we talk about all things business and how to really help you fight for your business during this time frame. So it's a Facebook Live every Tuesday at technically 10 a.m. Eastern. I had to think about that there. But it's a great conversation. It's time for you to listen, but then implement, which is what we're really big on. And we're there to help you. We have a Facebook group too that's private, so you can really bring your questions to us and, talk to the community that we have in there already about how to improve, say, a budget that you have for your business, or how to implement a system and, make some automation choices that you may have not done. So I absolutely love it. It's one of my favorite parts of the week, in addition to obviously working with my husband, but love the ladies, love what we get to do. And that's a little bit about Fight Club.
Well, if you haven't checked out Fight Club for Business, definitely go do that. It is it's fast paced. It's every episode's about an hour, if I'm not mistaken, right? But it seems just like to fly by, and especially if you have like the notepad out with it and you're writing down, the homework and all the actionable items there. You'd be surprised how action packed it is. Like I said, I was on it, and it seemed like we started recording and then we were done in about a second, and I realized I babbled on for most of the hour. I was really hogging the space there.
No, we kept you on time. You were good. You did a great job.
Oh, well, I appreciate it. But Taylor, any final words for someone that might be in a similar position, that kind of is, might be fulfilled with your job, but you're kind of feeling that itch, and even if it's not just entrepreneurial, just something about that, recognizing or listening to kind of the internal signs your body's giving you. Any final thoughts or advice for someone who might be listening to this and just is thinking, you know what, I need to take that leap?
I would say just two things. I would say listen, number one. And this is something my dad told me ever since I was a kid. And it was keep your mouth shut and your ears open. And that can attribute to your business life. It can attribute to your personal life. And it can attribute to you as a person yourself, listening to yourself and keeping your mouth shut for 2 minutes to figure out what yourself is saying to you. And another thing would really be journaling. And I know it was hard for me at first to get into it. But that was a way to listen to my inner self and be able to kind of figure out this roadmap afterwards. And I know you had mentioned, journaling is not like exactly what you love to do. I can't remember where I heard this recommendation, but there was a lady that I had listened to on a podcast, and she recommended just 3 times a day, write down 3 words on how you're feeling. So check in with yourself in the morning, check in with yourself at lunch, and check in with yourself in the evening. Just write 3 words about what you're feeling at that time, whether it's anxious, happy, concerned, whether it's, excited, empowered, wanting to make a difference, whatever the case may be. Looking back on that, you can see how your kind of mood is shifting, and then you can start to kind of flow into journaling at that point.
It's great result. I never was a big journaler just because I write stuff down. My handwriting is so sloppy that I wouldn't know what it said later. However, though, I don't want to take away from what you gave there, because that was some powerful stuff there about, just kind of listening and understanding, and I guess in the end, trusting yourself. No one's going to know you better than yourself.
Absolutely.
So Taylor, thank you so much for joining us here on the Nice Job live chat. I hope all you out there were able to kind of get a glimpse of Taylor Meroni first and foremost, and now with Pure Power Washing. But thank you for kind of being so open and honest as well. We try to provide a space here in our own Facebook group, and I know Fight Club Business is the same, of entrepreneurs or just individuals, being open about everything that is them. Because if you're open about everything that is you, you'll be surprised how in every element of your life it starts to become the best it can be. So Taylor, thank you once again for being our guest and joining along. And we'll be checking in soon with Pure Power Washing.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it, Sean.
And all you out there that tuned in, thank you so much. I hope you're being safe. I hope you're being healthy. And I hope you're still having some fun out there. We'll have another live chat coming up on Thursday. But until then, have a good one, everybody.